Hello, fellow Opus creator, and welcome to episode 7 of the Mindful Opus podcast. I'm so excited about today's amazing guest. Violinist Lauren Roth-Gómez, acting Associate Concertmaster of the Atlanta Symphony, is someone very special to me. Not only because we've known each other for decades, she was my dad's violin student in high school and college, but also because Lauren was my very first client. In our work together, we explored what it looks like to separate your self-worth from your performance, how to cultivate an inner coach that can counter the inner critic, and what a life built around the idea of freedom looks like. That exploration led to huge internal and external shifts, from powerful career decisions, life-changing performance shifts, and ultimately helping her show up for an audition feeling unburdened by whatever the result may be. She felt she had already won because of the work she had done to get to a place of self-love and acceptance. And by the way, she won her audition that day. Lauren also talks about how she almost walked away from the violin entirely and what that journey coming back to the violin has been like. She has so much goodness and wisdom to share with you all. So if you're craving more freedom in your playing and in your life, I think you'll love this episode. Hello and welcome to the Mindful Opus podcast. I'm your host, Jo Zacconi, violist with the Cleveland Orchestra, yoga teacher, and coach for classical musicians. Here, we switch from grind to kind in our artistic process so that artists like you can avoid burnout, ditch performance anxiety, and create a thriving, healthy life on and off stage. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Lauren, welcome, my dear. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. We have known each other a very long time. I actually want to ask you if you remember when we first met.
I think I do.
I remember.
I think it was the Lake City house. You were back from break from CIM. My teacher's phenomenal violist daughter was back for a break, and he had me play Sigan for you in that studio.
Yes, for sure. That's exactly. You were 12, I think. That's what I'm going to say. We know each other a long time.
Yeah,
high school.
It was high school. Yeah, a few years after that, maybe. But yeah, I remember.
I just remember him saying, "You got to hear her sound. You got to hear this girl's sound," because he's a big sound guy. And your opening of Sigan was incredible. So it's fun to flash forward in time because we've known each other so long. And yet I feel like where we really bonded in a really unique way was when, and guys, I'm going to just out her right now, she was my very first client for Mindful Opus Coaching, May 2022.
A badge I wear with honor.
Oh, and not only were you my first, you also were my longest running client. We've worked together for almost 2 years, or 2 years exactly. It was like 22 to 24. And so when I reflect on that, I have to just start with, because we're going to get into all sorts of fun things that you're going to learn so much from this incredibly wise person. I want to start with just asking you, what was it that made you say yes to coaching, but even taking me out of the way? Like there's that moment for people where they just decide enough's enough and I want some help with something. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious, what was that moment like that made you say yes? And you were like, what problem, I guess, were you trying to solve in a way?
You know, even looking back and answering that question now, what problem? Was it only one? I'm sure it was a plethora. And I say that lovingly to myself, right? Because life brings with it, usually I think more than one challenge at a time. Or if you want to dig a little bit, you find that there's a lot under the surface than maybe the one thing that was bothering you. So, I mean, what problem did I want to address? I think in general, I was aware, let's say, I was aware that I had a lot of things I wanted to change in my life. And So you can call those problems or not. I just was in a situation where there were things I wanted to be different in my life to make me what I might call myself happier. And
Mm.
I don't know that I had a lot more clarity than that, except that, we connected and I understood you were venturing into this world of coaching. And it sounded like there was no reason to deny an opportunity for someone to help me. Why would I say no? Yes, absolutely, I'll take it, There wasn't any shame in entertaining the idea, and it ended up better, more fulfilling, more life-changing than I could have ever imagined. And
Oh
in
my
some ways,
gosh.
that's actually like what your dad said in his most recent article, talking
Yeah.
about how life brings you opportunities and you grab them. And I don't think I'm an expert at that, but he has said that. I've heard that from him for many, many years, and this might be an example of that. An opportunity presented itself, and I'm very grateful that I ran with it.
Well, I think that is, again, a testament to your ability to say, okay, I want something to be different, because that's the first step. A lot of people get stuck in the, you know what, I'm just going to, what's that saying? Like the devil you know is better than one you don't, or something. Like that idea of like what you know, even if it's uncomfortable, is safer than what you don't know. So I think taking that
Sure,
leap, and I
that's
was on
true.
that side of the coaching going, okay, I know I have my certification, I'm doing this thing. And then it was like, oh gosh, I'm really going to partner with this person. And you made my life incredibly
Hmm.
easy. So it is interesting though, because so we worked together for 2 years before then. And I wonder if this kind of like, if you can talk about this piece, because I think a lot of people have their version of tapping into this particular thing where you were very young when you started, right? Like many musicians
Hmm.
are. And you sort of had this feel of like, as you grew up, was the violin really your choice? And I remember sitting with
Yep.
you, fast forward, whatever, like in time, where I was before coaching, I was thinking of going back to school, and you were thinking of going back to school to be a doctor. So we were bonding over this. Oh my gosh,
Yep.
maybe music isn't the thing. And you dabbled, right? You went back to school for what was it, like 6 months, a year?
Oh no, it was I think a year and a half.
A year and a half to go become a doctor. And you were like, that's it. I'm not doing the violin. Wasn't really necessarily my choice. I put in quotes because it became your choice. So, what can you share about that journey going from, I don't think so, to not only yes, but like, hell yes?
Definitely. Yeah, the journey is incredible, and it's fun to sum up, and then also of course I won't do it total justice, but I can just share that I started playing the violin on my third birthday. I had my first lesson on my third birthday at my request. And really it was my demand. There's a cute story involved in how I asked for a violin for Christmas, and then I got one that was sort of a toy, and I was really mad that it wasn't a real violin, and I wanted to fix this situation, and I really demanded that I wanted a real violin, and I was going to now have my first lesson on my third birthday. That's what I wanted. Little 3-year-old Lauren was like, this is what must happen in the world. And it did. And I had my first lesson on my third birthday. I remember my outfit. I have some memories of that day because I was so filled with pride at being a little girl that was wearing this cute little sweater set in the middle of January and had a violin on her shoulder, and she was learning how to hold it in rest position and put her feet into playing position, and I have the most incredible love and reverence for my teacher that day even now. So like everything about beginning my violin studies was genuinely mine, and I
Mm.
owned every bit of it, and I loved every bit of it. And then the years went by, and
Hmm.
then
Yeah.
activities came in, and then family roles, and all sorts of just interesting dynamics. Frankly, I don't know, they kind of muddied the water, if I could say that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it got to the point where, yeah, a few decades later, I found myself wanting to pivot and not be a violinist anymore and not be a musician anymore.
What was it about
Please.
the medical field in general that you were like drawn to? Was it medical
Well,
shows? Like, where'd that come from?
you know, I think there is an element of wanting to be a little bit like my dad, who at that time, I mean, he's retired, but had a long research career in hematology. And I'm sure that there were some feelings of wanting to measure up or thinking that a doctor path and an MD degree was some sort of certification that meant more than just the degree. It meant success, or it meant fill in the blank, essentially.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
meant some recognition. By whom? I would ask my old self. By whom? By who do we need to be
Mm.
recognized by? But right, like these achievements on paper somehow, I think in my a few years ago mind, represented more than what they really were. And so I was very attracted to all of the above, and to the point that I was actually willing to give up being a violinist. And when I think about 3-year-old Lauren, how insulted she would be to ever imagine that something else would replace the pride, and excitement that she felt with a violin in her hands. So I had this is a long answer to your question, but it was a very long journey, one in which you were a huge part, to come back. And I will really say it was coming back to my love of the violin and my identity as a violinist. It was always there, but
Mm.
I feel it was really quite buried for a good amount of time. And I'm just grateful. I think it's sort of a miracle in the world that things have happened in a way that brought it back to being a central part of my life. This is how it
Wow.
was always meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, and I've seen that in you. I see how much you shifted from really feelings of, dare I say, like inadequacy and that sort of, I think when you say muddy the waters, that's something we can all relate to. We sort of start off doing this thing out of purity, and then comparison mind comes in, and you go to college and you're
Correct.
comparing yourself, and then you're in your career and you're comparing.
Perfectionism too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so all of that starts to muddy the waters. And so when you reflect on that time, what do you think was particularly helping shift out of that feeling of violin isn't it? Violin is making me feel adequate to, you said something like the wisest self is like, oh, what am I trying to prove to somebody? Like, say more about that
Mhm.
particular strand of your journey.
Oh, absolutely. Because a lot of the work that you and I did together, and a lot of the questions that you asked me and the prompts that you offered, made me basically start to pull back layers and start to ask questions like I just posed, which were, whose recognition are you asking for, Lauren? Right? And I
Mm,
actually did do a lot of third person talking.
yeah.
What are what's really happening upstairs, Lauren? What are you thinking? What are you afraid of? What exactly are these feelings? And so it really was just peeling back layer by layer by layer. And with every layer removed, I found myself being able to get deeper into asking what Lauren, true Lauren, whoever she is and whatever she wants, what really does she feel? And that is where my
Mm.
best, most true answers came from and still come from, of course.
And I think when you talk about peeling the layers and getting to the root of you, I think you're talking about, and when I say this like so deeply truthfully. I don't know anyone who has taken the concept of self-compassion and self-love and applied it the way that you have. You have used
Thank
that
you.
as such a guiding force. And actually, if I may share, in our work, because we worked together for 2 years, our lighthouse. So for people listening, I work with people during a certain amount of time, and we set up what are called these lighthouses. They're like our lighthouse guides. They help guide us on our journey for our allotted time together. And sometimes that lighthouse changes, time to time. If we renew, we keep working together. And freedom was yours. I mean, talk about like what, how do you even define that? And so every time you explored what is a life of freedom. I think it wasn't just external, it was internal too. It was how do I free myself from these feelings of inadequacy, of perfectionism, of trying to prove things to myself. So, can you share a little bit about what that self compassion journey has been like for you? Like, what are some wisdoms that you have beyond really, truly anyone I know that you can share with anyone who's going through these moments?
Well, first of all, you're too kind because I've never thought of myself as any sort of poster child for self-compassion.
For
But
sure.
I thank you for the work you've done with me too, because it's true that is maybe one of the biggest, if not the biggest shifts I've worked to have, which is a sense of self that isn't only judgmental. And I think I only really have made progress in that regard because, frankly, it was only judgmental to start. I
Hmm.
can laugh because we all start from somewhere, but it was tough. This journey was really necessary for me, and I've been grateful to be on it. I can definitely remember a few summers ago, I found myself in Prague teaching at a music festival, and I was practicing the Sibelius Violin Concerto. I was performing the whole thing in, I don't know, maybe a month's time from this memory that I have. So I was in a hotel room in Prague. I was a little under the weather, so I think I was actually in the hotel room and not attending a given rehearsal. Anyway, I remember being there by myself, sort of a late morning hour, and you and I were in the midst of coaching, and we were talking about a lot of things. One of the things was trying to disassociate my self-worth from being a violinist and from how I played the violin.
Yeah, your worth
And
is not
I
dependent on your external result. It's intrinsic and whole and unflappable.
What a
Hard,
concept. What,
hard for musicians to
yes,
get.
it is. And at that point, I had gone ahead and made a decent career and life out of being a violinist who really struggled every single minute with those exact thoughts. So our work together was embarking and really like asking me to consider something I had never really considered before. And I will never forget playing a passage in the first movement of Sibelius Concerto. And it was just a run, like an ascending arpeggio kind of run from a low note to a fairly high one. And I didn't have too much trouble with this run, but I wouldn't say that I made it 100% of the time exactly as I wanted. And I played it in this hotel room. And then I stopped, and it was in a moment of silence with my bow off the string that I remember distinctly saying to myself, Lauren, your worth isn't attached to this run. And I remember I kind of exhaled and thought, whoa, first of all, where did that come from? Is that true? And if that's true, can I play like that statement's true? And I played that run again. And, to be honest, I don't even remember how it compared to the time before, because again, that outcome is less important. But I had just like taught myself an incredible lesson that would stay with me from that exact moment where I realized playing the violin and playing runs up and down, left hand jumping here and the right hand doing that. I mean, what is this really all about? Is it so that, again, am I here to prove myself in any way to a listening audience member? How about I have nothing to prove and I just play? And I'm allowed to make a mistake sometimes, and I'm allowed to not sometimes. I'm allowed to play a passage exactly how I ever imagined it could be. I'm allowed to play it better than I ever imagined it could be. And I'm also allowed to play it with a little blip or in some way,
Mm.
I really wish it had been better.
Mm. So when you shifted into that, ironically, correct me if I'm wrong, you actually ended up performing better.
Of course.
Why do you think that is? Like, if you could dissect that causation correlation, what is it that allows when you just let go to ironically maybe make less mistakes? Although you don't want to guarantee that, but your experience
Right.
with that is pretty intrinsic and yeah, true.
Yeah, my experience is that it takes constant effort to brush away like the demons and the voices that say, just focus on not making mistakes, just focus on not making mistakes. But as I work to get rid of that voice and let I would call it sort of a better voice dominate, that better voice that says, you're here to just play. You know how to play. Girl, let it rip. Go. Please. Just just have at it. Are you scared that you might not hit the top note? What if it's sharp? What if it's not exactly how you wished? Is something going to change? Are you going to recoil and run off stage and cry into a heaping pile of distress? No. I mean, in other words, I just sort of practiced the voice that said there is nothing to lose as long as you are trying to do everything you possibly can. And with that mindset, I don't know, Joanna. It would be great if there was some sort of machine that could dissect and like evaluate all the causation and correlation of what we're talking about. I don't even need one though to say that when I focus on being my truest self and being the most expressive musician I want and think I can be, I think that the mistakes certainly are less. But aside from mistakes, I'm so much happier. So
Mm.
are we evaluating and keeping track of mistakes, or are we evaluating and keeping track of happiness? I'm for the latter.
Oof. Yes, ma'am. Me too. And I can hear some people saying, okay, you're allowed to make mistakes if you're a soloist in a concerto, but you're not allowed to make mistakes if you're in an audition. And I want you to share your audition journey because to me, and this was sort of like towards the tail end of us working together, I think at that point you had done so much internal work on yourself in terms of learning to cultivate this sort of like inner coach. Do you remember the name of your inner coach and inner critic? I don't know if you feel, you don't have to share them, but you did a ton of work on cultivating that actual, what I call an avatar. This was episode
Yeah.
6. If anyone's listening, you can go back and listen to the inner critic. I do a whole thing on that. But yeah, so by the time the audition came, that inner coach was just vivacious. And I think she got you through some genuine hurdles like the night before where you missed your flight. There was like an alarm in your hotel room,
Yes.
like all these
Yes.
hurdles
Yes.
that would have
There,
completely derailed so many people. And I think at that point
right.
you were ready. So take it away, my love.
Well, absolutely. I mean, again, thanks to you and on our incredible discussions and like epiphanies all along the way. I remember, first of all, deciding that I wanted to take this audition in Atlanta and being really serious about it. This was not child's play. I was like, I'm going for this because I want to win this. And that's an attitude and I think determination we should all have when we take an audition and decide we're going to spend the money and the time and the effort and energy that it takes to really do an audition to our best ability. I say that because I can look back and realize that a lot of auditions I took, I didn't have quite that determination. I would have told you that I wanted to win it, but did I really feel like I could and that I was going to? And did I really put my
Mm.
best foot forward? I'm not sure. In this case, I say with confidence that I really did. Thanks to our work together, my inner critic was No No Knowles. She was
Woo!
Miss No No.
Miss
And
No No.
all she told me was things I couldn't do, things I wasn't good at, things that where the answer maybe would be yes, but in her world it was always no. And just this sort of negative presence. And it was good to give it a name because
Yes.
in fact that presence has we can give it a personality, a persona, and that was incredibly helpful to define what that voice was for me. And contrasting no Knowles was my inner mentor. And I named her Angela. And she
Mm.
was my angel. And she guided me. And she was the voice that was always quieter than
Yep.
no,
Yep.
but she was there. So when you start to just shine a little bit of light on Angela and realize that she's always there, she's actually only capable of telling you the things that help and move you forward.
Mm.
So you're right. We put a spotlight on Angela and let her be a real guide as I put myself through what I knew was going to be a difficult situation. An audition is a difficult situation,
Yep.
period.
Yep.
And but Angela was there. So yeah, I remember needing to take a red eye before the finals. The semifinal round was a week before the final round. So I came to Atlanta for the semifinals, but then I went back to Tucson to play an entire week of concerts there. And then my only choice to get back to Atlanta a week later was a red eye. And the travels were not easy. It was also a bus to Phoenix to get on that red eye. It was an ordeal. And I landed at something like 5:30, no later than 6 in the morning, Atlanta time, with very little sleep, of course. And my audition was actually later in the afternoon. So there was a lot of dead time. And I thought, I'll check into the hotel, I'll get some sleep, and I'll warm up, I'll do whatever I need. Well, I was sleeping at the hotel room, probably like 9:30, 10 in the morning. and the fire alarm went off in the hotel. And it was unbelievably loud. I mean, unbelievably loud on all the floors, all the rooms. And so, of course, I vacated, went downstairs to find out that a pipe had burst in the hotel. So the alarm wasn't to indicate an actual emergency situation or any need for evacuation. But this
Oh my
pipe burst, so
goodness.
the alarm had to go off. And we're very sorry, they said in the hotel lobby.
So
It's going to
sorry.
be a while, but we're really sorry for the inconvenience, any inconvenience this causes. And we're
You're
not
like,
sure how to turn it
inconvenience.
off. It's
I
going
need
to be
my
a while.
sleep.
Inconvenience. Let me tell you about inconvenience. And actually, the alarm went off literally for about 45 minutes. It
Unreal.
would not be turned off. So obviously, I'm awake that whole time, not playing the violin. I mean, just waiting to be able to go back and try to catch a few more Z's. I think I did. I probably did nap a little, but mostly it just made the day obviously difficult. It interrupts your plan, and frankly, isn't life kind of a whole conglomeration of that? And so, why would an audition be any different? And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, well, this is what it is. There's no reason to fight it, and I didn't expect this. This is all part of a pretty decent story. And in the end, I was second to last of the day for the final audition that day. And it wouldn't be for many more weeks actually till I found out that I won the position. But that's one of the audition stories, right in the heat of it. Yeah, having things definitely go not according to plan.
Not going to
That's how it
plan,
goes.
and yet you rolling with it from a place of self-compassion. I love that you said, I just wrote it down. There's no reason to fight it, and it's a good story. Because you had
Right.
done the work, because how many other mortals, yes, you're a mortal, but in that moment, I think you were quite an enlightened being, my love, would have gone, oh no, this is happening. This is going to suck. This is going to ruin everything. And I think because you had such a practice of believing in yourself, of resilience, because that's what self compassion actually cultivates is this inner resilience. Kristen Neff calls it inner resilience training. So it is a performance tool in the sense that it got you to perform despite all these circumstances. And I want to go back to something you said a little bit ago because I thought it was fascinating. You said you really wanted to win. And you said, and you kind of owned it.
Hmm.
You're like, this was one I really wanted to win. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes I have clients where their desire to win gets in the way of them showing up because it turns into pressure. How did you
Hmm.
balance your desire to win with your releasing the outcome?
I was just thinking about how much work I had done in preparation for this audition to the point where I remember telling myself in the hotel room of before the finals, I said to myself, Lauren, and I told you too, you've already won. You have won. We don't need the outcome to be a certain way. Yes, we want it. We want a certain outcome. I'm going to stick to wanting to win. I want them to tell me I've won. But also at this moment, I don't know if I'd played the round yet, while I'm either waiting to play or while I'm just waiting for the result. In this moment, I have won. And I could tell myself that with incredible confidence because I had done what I could. And when somebody, I'll just say when I do the work that I know I can do, then there is no other outcome needed. And that's why I
Mm.
said I had already won. I had done what I could. The only people that can tell me I won an audition from the Atlanta Symphony is the Atlanta Symphony committee or the personnel
Hmm.
manager who delivers the message. So I am not allowed to make myself win an audition in any orchestra. I'm allowed to practice in a way, to behave in a way, to support myself in a way that makes it so that I have won every part I could control. And I actually felt that way before the results of that audition. And I think that is maybe one of the best lessons, like in real life lessons that, you've helped coach me into learning because I just started to realize that the work I had done to prepare for this audition was everything. That was my entire journey was doing the work.
Hmm.
And it reminds me when people congratulated me after I won, oh, congratulations, you won. It's easy from the outside to see the outcome as the thing to celebrate. So you
Mm.
won the audition, so I'm going to celebrate you because you won. And of course, that's wonderful. Thank you. I always say thank you. It's great. If I had a few more minutes with every person that congratulated me for winning the audition, I would say to them, thank you so much. The real celebration and the real win is the person I am now and the work that I did to be the happy person I am today. And I really mean
Mm.
that.
Yes.
I really mean that.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember like years ago seeing it was a clip from Kobe Bryant's like retirement ceremony, I believe, when he
Uh-huh.
retired from playing professional basketball. And he said into the mic at the arena in LA to thousands and thousands of screaming fans and with his family on the court, he said that yes, the trophies are wonderful and yes, the championships are wonderful. But he said, I want my daughters to know, and they were standing there right next to him on the court, but I want my daughters to know that when you get up in the morning and you don't want to train, when you show up to practice early because you want to work on this, you want to work on that because you're dedicated to this, when you push through the tiredness and the fatigue you feel in your body or your mind, and when you da da da, and he went on and on, he said that actually is the dream. Yes, the
Mm.
trophies are wonderful. Yes, the championships are wonderful, but that perseverance and the dedication and the you showing up and the consistency, that is the dream. And I could not agree more. So, yes,
Yes.
thank you to all the people who congratulate me for winning the audition I wanted to win. That is wonderful. It's like the championship. I got the ribbon I wanted to. Thank you. It's wonderful to celebrate that. But what I hope we all sort of realize in our little life's journey is that it's the work that I did before I was told I won. That is
Yes.
what is the real celebration for me. That's the only way the outcome is actually possible, I think. The
Yes.
outcome of the championship or the winning the actual audition. It's possible because of the work you've done before, and that's the real celebration.
And you've already celebrated, therefore you don't need it. Like you kept saying, I want it. And one of the things that I tell my clients is you can want it, but don't need it. You can tell yourself ad nauseum, I don't want it, but I don't need it. I don't need it from a self worth perspective. I've already
Correct.
done myself proud. And I thank you for sharing that story. And it also makes me think, okay, I want to pick your brain a little bit on something. Self determination, self discipline, perseverance, all those things, or what I have reframed to fierce self compassion, right? It's that inner coach. It's Angela saying, girl, I know you're tired. Get up. You can do this, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Versus beating yourself up into getting the work done. Can you say a little bit about that in your process? Because I think in the past, and probably still trickles in, it's not any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you flip a switch and it's done. Like I like to say,
Correct.
there's no
Of
perfectionism
course.
pill. If there was, I'd hand it out and be a gazillionaire. But your moral compass, right? The guiding principle is one of working hard from a place of kindness towards yourself and self-belief versus self flatulations, beating yourself up into those results. So, what can you say about like, yeah, your version of discipline because it's so rooted, I think, in self compassion.
Well, now it is. Thank you. I really think I discovered that knowing myself better and better helped me understand how to talk to myself and coach myself. So knowing who I really am, and we can go off on tons of tangents to try to define that. But
Mm.
the more I learned about who I was, what I like, what I don't like, how I want to spend my time, what makes me happy. I mean, what frustrates me, all the things about what it is to learn oneself. That was my guide to then understanding when do I push myself and when do I not? When do I
Mhm.
ask more of myself and when do I say it's okay, let's rest?
And both are
And
rooted in self love. They're both
yes,
because you're loving yourself. You are your first advocate.
absolutely. And so that's why it's just been wonderful, like really self-discovery. I mean, sounds maybe cliche, but being on a journey of just trying to understand who I am makes everything clearer. And when I can understand what I really need, then I know when to push myself and I know when I need a rest. There is no book that can tell you the answer when you're in that situation. Oh, what should I do? Should
Yeah.
I get up early and do that extra hour? Or, I mean, I'm so tired. I've been burning the candle from both ends. Tomorrow, I just really need to sleep in. There is no book that will tell you which is the right answer. And either one could be right. So
Mm-hmm.
long as you know who you are and what you truly need, you'll find the right answer. That has been enlightening to me too. That, again, call her Angela or call her no Knowles. Like, Angela, let's say, really knows actually what the answer is every time.
Yes. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. I knew you would. See, so many things already that you've talked about that are just, to quote Oprah, aha moments. I know. I quote her sometimes, but it's so true because you always have the answer. When you look out for yourself first, you will have the answer. Always, 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 always. It's remarkable. Speaking of, so you were discovering yourself and how to support yourself in your playing and sort of peeling away the layers of like, who is Lauren? And I want to touch on one incredible moment from the time we were working together, where in discovering of this, who am I? What do I want? This freedom lighthouse of sort of guiding you month to month or every few months. And you made a pretty impressive decision rooted in incredible self-kindness and deep respect for your work to pivot and to step away from a teaching position to create some more time in yourself because you had a really, really busy life. So a lot of values work and really rooting into questioning not is this good or bad, but is this right? And I think a lot of people can relate to that in general decisions. Is this the right relationship? Is it the right school? Is it the right job? Things like that. So what can you share about what it means to make decisions from that place of self-trust and self-love?
Well, I mean, what it means is you start to create and put together, piece together, if you will, the life that you want. So I was really, yeah, living a very, very busy life.
You
I
were
had
super
tasks
busy.
on my schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. And I did that for a long, long time. And I'm not sure I really knew what an alternative looked like for me. So part of that was just sort of patterns of behavior and what seemed comfortable, and also not changing what already was. And when
Mm,
you have that for a long time, then you really end up with a schedule that's absolutely full to the max, and it stays that way. And so that's really kind of where I found myself. And we started working together. I knew I wanted to make changes, but there was a lot of fear in upending what was happening, right? The wheels
yeah,
were
what was
turning.
known.
And
Yeah.
so I definitely decided to step away from teaching after a lot of discussion with you and work and thought, because that felt like a very, very big decision to actively disrupt the thing that was churning on and on consistently for so long. That decision came out of really just acknowledging that something had to give.
Yes.
And something had to give, meaning something really needed to change. And I wasn't going to play my violin any less. There
Right.
wasn't going to be a change
Exactly.
that was going to make me play the violin less. I had already gotten over the hump of
We were
thinking I
not
was
going
going
to
to go
doctor.
change careers.
No, you
We
weren't
were
going to
not going to
school.
doctor
Nope.
world. Mm-mm.
Doctor
No
world.
more physics for me. Yeah, and I was sticking with this violin thing, but I did understand that for me to play more violin and grow into the love I discovered I had for it, I did need to make accommodations.
You had to make
And
room.
that meant
Yeah.
I had to make room. And that meant stepping back and away completely from private violin instruction at the University of Arizona. And I was able to still see my wonderful, incredible, talented students that I adored and still adore. I was able to see them in our excerpt class once a week. But I took an active step back from being the primary violin instructor on a weekly basis that saw them one on one. And that obviously was difficult because, that decision not only changed my schedule and my life, but it also changed theirs. I was needing to tell them that there was going to be a change.
Yeah.
And I was not going to be able to work with them one-on-one anymore. Of course, they're wonderful people and understanding, but that also weighs heavily on someone who has a history of being perfect or trying to be perfect and trying to live up to people's expectations.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yep.
again, all of these were steps that helped me, though, create my little happier corner, one that took care of myself and tried to listen to myself. The only way I can listen to myself is if I start to know myself. So to me, this cycle is just ongoing and ever supportive of itself.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely the right decision for me. I'm teaching a little bit now in Atlanta, which is lovely because it was never about not teaching, of course. It was never about not wanting to teach or connect with students. I just
Right.
found myself in a place where a change was needed, and that was the change I determined had to happen. I do think it was right at the time. I still think it was right at the time. And it has allowed for a lot of changes to happen in my life, which I have welcomed. And again,
Yeah.
I'm teaching now to a certain extent that's lovely. It's helping me. It's teaching always teaches, when I teach others, it teaches me. So everything that can be good about that continues. And it's actually back in my life in a way I'm very grateful for.
And what I love about how you're looking at it is that you have permission. We all have permission to create the life we want, one opus at a time. That's literally where mindful opus came from. It's doing the mindful work and having the permission to create new opuses at different times of your life. And it doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. It doesn't mean that it was the wrong thing. It means that you tapped into your mindful work and thought about future you, Angela guiding you the whole time, and just had to answer the simple question, what do I want? And a lot of that was values work, these sort of getting to know, you call it getting to know yourself deeper and deeper, which I think is exactly where we're going to leave it. There's strategies where we come up with actual guiding words, and there's some formulas that can really help people, but I think because you were so rooted in getting to know yourself, right? It's that huge awareness piece. What you don't know, you can't change. You're just on the autopilot of your life. And the more you got to know yourself, the more you were able to continually make these wise choices. And they led you in 2 incredible years to make these incredible shifts. And I just have the most respect for you I could possibly ever. I think of you and I think of freedom and wisdom and inspiration. And I guess I just want to ask you before we move into rapid fires, if there's anything that I
Okay.
should have asked, if there's anything that you think our listeners who have been in your shoes would love to know or would it be really beneficial for them to know.
There's just one thing that I was thinking about in the last really couple of minutes here. Most of your listeners are instrumentalists, right?
Yes, and though there, it's interesting. There's
Okay,
artists.
okay,
There's people definitely not necessarily in the
good.
music field at this point. So you're all
Perfect.
welcome. I have coaches. I have
Okay.
computer programmers. There's a whole lot of people, but everyone rooted
Amazing.
in the growth and creative aspect. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, from an instrumental perspective, a lot of the listeners who might find themselves attached in a certain way to an instrument,
Yeah.
we have teachers, we have mentors, people that have taught us how to play this instrument, how to become great technicians and musical minds and all sorts of things. And I think of particular people in my life who fill that teacher mentor role, and they are extremely dear to me because
Hmm.
they helped me learn this instrument that I love. So there's like a special place in my heart and in my mind for these particular teachers. They have in many ways given me kind of the greatest gift I could have ever dreamed of to help me learn how to play the violin. The 3-year-old Lauren wanted to play the violin and be a violinist. And the people who have taught me how to play the violin are, some of my absolute heroes. And I just want to share, I guess, that it's its own like development and journey and maturity to realize that those heroes are also their own people and they're not you. And I say that
Mm.
with, all the love and respect
Yes.
to these
Yeah.
wonderful people. I will praise all the days of my life. And at the same time, I think actually one of the best gifts they probably could have ever given me. And over time, they eventually did, because I eventually learned it. I eventually learned that they really just wanted me to be my own musician and my own person and have my own voice too. But that was that was a hard domino to fall, because I thought that doing my best and being the best violinist I could be was being their shadow. And it really was making sure I did them justice for the wonderful gifts that they gave me. No, I have learned only recently that doing their teaching justice is being my own best musician. There's only me that can be me.
I would drop this mic, but it's very expensive and Mike would be very mad at me. That was an incredible mic drop moment. And yes, deeply, deeply necessary to be said over and over and over again, because you found, and as many of my clients have, that when you step into your own shoes with the inspiration and the support of your mentors, it is doing them the greatest honor to be fully integrated with what you like to do, how you like to do things. And thank you for bringing that to this episode, because I know people listening. Yeah.
And that's what they did. That's what they did. And that's part of the reason why I looked up to them and still look up to them.
Yes. Incredible, Miss Lauren. All right. Let's do some rapid fires.
Okay.
Favorite moment on stage that you can recall?
Oh my gosh. And it's supposed to be fast.
Yes.
Canton, Ohio, Sanson's 3, wearing one of my favorite green dresses with total sparkles everywhere. In the dress rehearsal, I made the conductor cry.
Oh,
in the second movement, I made the conductor cry. And he said, you and Andre Watts are the only people that have ever made me cry.
Oh, I will say your playing makes me cry. It's stunning. Beautiful. It's true.
Happy tears.
Happy tears. Yeah, they make me cry. Favorite moment off stage that you can recall? I think I know this one, but maybe not.
I mean, I don't know. It's probably with my sweet little dog Maverick, taking walks with my husband.
There you go. You got married. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are you reading right now? Do you have time to read?
Sometimes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. When you're reading, what are you reading?
Well, I'm newly married, so I'm actually reading a book about marriage.
Perfect. Yes.
To try to keep it going well.
Yes. Love that. Love that. There was a book I bought when I first got married called If the Buddha Got Married.
Interesting.
It's like Buddhist philosophy meets marriage. I don't know if I got through it, but anyway, that reminds me of that. What are you watching right now? What's your show or movie du jour?
Oh gosh, sometimes it's actually kind of trash TV on TLC.
Perfect. Yes, bring it. I'm a Bravo girl, so the realer the housewives, the better.
Yeah, it's fun. I never watch it live, but it's fun to watch, after the fact.
What are you listening to, either music or podcasts?
I literally was listening to the Mindful Opus podcast earlier.
Stop it.
I kid you not. That was not an ad. That was not meant to be promotional in any way. It was simply true. Other things I'm listening to, you know what? It's the holidays. Ella Fitzgerald.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I don't know. Every December I have to.
Absolutely. What's your favorite meal right now? Favorite meal? Like if you just ploop, there it was in front of you. What do you want to eat?
It's my husband's ragu. He's a good cook.
Oh,
yeah. And it's better the second and third day.
Okay, cool. And then finally, what is something that always cheers you up?
Oh gosh, honestly, it's dessert. I just have such a sweet tooth.
Amazing.
When I get through the veggies and I get to dessert.
And you get to the chocolate.
Me happy.
Oh my gosh. Is it chocolate? Cookies? What's your...
Yes.
Yeah.
Chocolate.
All the above. I know. Oh, my love. Well, what a pleasure. I'm so deeply thankful and grateful that you came on. I know our listeners will have so many incredible takeaways, and I hope you come back because, we can talk for hours and
we can talk forever. It is an honor. Thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Mindful Opus podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, consider adding the show to your library, write a blurb in the review section, or share it with someone in your circle. For more about my work, you can find me on Instagram at mindfulopus or my website, mindfulopus.com. And while you're there, don't forget to grab that free well-being resource waiting for you. Until next time, my fellow opus creator, keep creating the life you want, one opus at a time.